Hello, everybody. Welcome to AmateurCast, the show where we pretend to know what we're talking about. My name is Sebastian Limon, and I am joined with Kolby Lippies.
Kolby, it's me.
It's him, and no one else.
No one else. Just us.
We're lonely.
They're all
lonely guys.
gone. We destroyed them.
No one's left. COVID's taken over.
Oh my god, that's a dark.
Yeah. We're just here doing nothing but making a podcast that no one is listening to.
That's not true. My mom listens to it.
I was gonna say.
Just today,
Yeah.
she was on a walk and she called me to let me know that I had made an editing mistake in episode 9. So, pretty good fan base, I would say. Yeah.
Well, good for your mom, Mrs. Leapy, if you're listening. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks, Mom.
And for actually caring about the audio quality. Don't worry, guys. The audio will be awesome. Someday. Speaking of awesome, we want to talk about an awesome filmmaker.
We do!
For today's episode.
First, I have a little surprise for you, Sebastian.
What?
I didn't tell you this beforehand. This is Candid, live on air, everyone. But
oh my god,
there's this thing happening that I really wanted to address on the show because I think it's a real cultural touchstone. And I thought because David Fincher is such a well-respected, artistic, serious filmmaker, that this would be the perfect episode to talk about this new thing that's coming out. Sebastian, my boy.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard about A Recipe for Seduction?
What in the world?
Before we get into this, I'm gonna super briefly do a little segment on this. I need you to know, both Sebastian and the listener, that I am not making a single word of this up. This is 100% real, and I'm not pranking you.
Okay.
There is a Lifetime TV movie coming out. It is titled A Recipe for Seduction. It is a romantic, and based on the trailer, I would personally say erotic drama, in which...
Like, we talking 50 Shades Grey erotic?
Probably not that level, because it's on TV, so they, can't.
Oh,
but,
true.
It definitely looks like there's some real sexual tension. And let me just tell you something. In this short movie, Mario Lopez plays Colonel Sanders.
Like
the founder
KFC,
of
Colonel
KFC,
Sanders?
Yes.
Okay.
It is a...
Wait.
Don't...
Is this leading to him, like doing a chicken?
My God, I hope not. Or maybe I hope so.
Okay.
Let me read. This is a true thing. They are making a Colonel Sanders movie, but they're making it a romantic drama. He's being played by Mario Lopez. Let me just read the little IMDb plot synopsis.
Go for it.
Colonel Harlan Sanders has a steamy, this is in parentheses, and savory, with a question mark, and parentheses, love affair with a young heiress who must choose between her young chef with a dream of fried chicken glory and a wealthy, duplicitous suitor hand-picked by her mother.
Is this real?
There is one review on IMDb. It is 10 out of 10 stars, and it is titled, "It's a 10, you dummies!"
Of course it's a 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking this up right now. I need to do this.
This is...
A recipe for this... Oh, wait, no. What? What is it called?
A Recipe for Seduction. Like I said, very, very sensual in nature.
Oh my god.
It's this goes without saying, but it's produced by the Kentucky Fried Chicken Company. It's going to premiere on Lifetime.
December 13th?
That already happened. Did we miss it? Oh my god.
That was yesterday.
Oh.
This is out.
So by the time you're listening to this, this thing is out. This thing exists. You can go watch it. if you want me and Seb to do a little bonus episode where we review a recipe for seduction, leave a comment below. Or if you're listening to this on iTunes or Spotify, like just add us on Instagram at amateur. What is it? At amateur_cast.
Yeah, at amateurcast.
At
That's what
amateur_cast. Just let us know if this is something you want us to do, because that'd be fun.
Oh my god!
But this is a real full-on thing. It is like it is out apparently.
It's not a porn film, is it? It looks like a porn.
No, I mean it's like on TV. But yeah, the trailer makes it look like that, honestly. But no, it's like on Lifetime.
I'm excited. I can't wait.
It's rated TV PG, which feels like some kids are going to have some awakenings. I'm trying to figure out where we can watch this.
Imagine watching this alone, and your parents walk in.
Mm-hmm.
How do you explain such a thing?
I don't think you would need to, because they would be so incredibly captivated by what's on screen that they would just sit there in silence and watch with you.
They'd sit there, watch in silence, and then the credits roll, and they're just standing there frozen like a statue. And then they die.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the full movie's on YouTube?
Is it?
Oh, hell yes. The whole thing's on YouTube, on the KFC YouTube channel.
Okay.
Well, definitely watching that later.
Hold on, let me see if this is... It's a mini movie.
Yeah, it's 16 minutes long.
The whole thing? Oh my god.
So I guess it's a short film.
It's technically a short film.
I guess.
All right. I mean, yeah, if you guys want us to do this, screw it, I got 14 minutes. Not right now, obviously. But how did you find out about this?
I found out about it from the podcast My Brother and Me. They mentioned it. And then I did some research on it because I thought that was so funny.
It's 2020. I'm like shocked, but not surprised. You know?
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's cool.
By the way, until this moment, I thought that Colonel Sanders fought in the Civil War. But I'm now looking at his Wikipedia, and not only was he born 30 years after the Civil War, but he was not a real colonel. That was an honorary title.
Oh, good for him.
So,
speaking of honorary titles.
Oh, sure.
David Fincher has the honorary title.
David Fincher. That was such a good segue from Recipe for Seduction to David Fincher.
Yes. It's better.
Like I said, the perfect episode to talk about KFC.
Jesus Christ. I don't know where this is going. I'm serious, guys. Like, he didn't warn me about this. I'm still like in shock.
I also did not warn him that I was going to offer the audience that we would do a bonus episode, but I mean it. At least for me. If you guys want that, let us know,
I'm down.
And I will do it.
I'm down. It can be a short one
together. Yeah, it would be like a short little bonus mini episode.
Unless there's like way too much to say about the
unless it ends up being a 4-hour discussion of the KFC movie.
Anything's possible now.
It's possible.
But speaking of discussions, we were discussing in our tour today, Kolby.
David Fincher, as promised last episode, we are going to discuss the David Fincher, widely regarded as one of the greatest directors of this century and of all time in some places. He is a very famous, very, very critically acclaimed director, and he has a new movie that just came out on Netflix, big Oscar contender this year, most likely. It's called MANK. We've seen it. It's out. We've seen it.
Wank your mank. What? Sorry.
Somebody call David. That should be the movie's tagline.
Wank your mank. Such a great title.
Does Gary Oldman know
Mank.
about this?
I'm sure
But-
he's wanked his Mank many times.
Oh my god. But yes,
Oh my god.
Mank is out. You can go watch it, and we're going to be discussing it, but not today. Next episode, we're going to be discussing Mank today as part 1 of our David Fincher special. In order to lead up to Mank, we are going to be discussing all of his other filmography. So we're going to we're going to highlight on our 2 favorite David Fincher films, but we're also going to kind of just discuss him as a director overall and his overall filmography and its impact on American cinema. So, Sebastian, to kick us off,
yes, Kolby.
Just how do you feel about David Fincher in general? What is your relationship with David Fincher as a director?
Well, Kolby. No, in all seriousness, I mean, David Fincher, whether or not you like his movies and the kind of stuff that he chooses to tell, the stories that he chooses to tell, you cannot look at his movies and not think that who is behind this is like an insane perfectionist.
Mm-hmm.
His movies are all technically perfect, all of them. Whether they have a bad script behind them or a no right script or whatever, Fincher really is like he deserves the title of one of the greats. I'm not even kidding. It's insane the amount of skill, the amount of time and patience he has for each of his shots. Not just for shots, for certain character motives, character walks, just small details that audiences are probably not going to care about. Yet he knows without them, it just wouldn't be the same. I love David Fincher. I love the way that he moves the camera, especially. There's a video about how David Fincher hijacks your eyes or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And you seen that? And it's basically like after every Fincher movie, I kind of view life almost like how his movies do.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's all smooth. Everything's kind of the camera's always following his actors and his characters.
The video's by
whenever
Nerd
they're
Writer,
moving.
my bad.
Nerd Writer, correct.
That is a great video, though.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, I love the performances that he's able to get from his movies. I love, like, even lately, like the kind of fast, almost quippy dialogue that comes with his movies. And I think as the years gone on, his movies have just gotten better. Like, obviously, his early films are known as some of the best, and he became who he is because of his early movies. But especially since Social Network and then Gone Girl and then Mindhunter with his, and then now Mank, it's crazy to see where he's progressed and kind of even, I think, working on Social Network, the screenplay that Sorkin wrote, you can tell that Fincher is in love with the kind of the way that the dynamic of the screenplay with the dialogue and just the way that it's formatted. His movies are kind of similar. Like, at least the movies after are pretty much following that route. So you can definitely see a growth from his 90s movies and his early 2000s movies to the movies he's making now. But I mean, yeah, Fincher's great. What do you? I don't even know if I have. Like, I haven't seen the ones that are technically bad, besides, I guess, Benjamin Button, which I haven't seen in a long time and don't really remember. But the ones that I've seen recently and I remember, they're great. So in terms of negative feedback on Fincher, I maybe his movies can get too long. Zodiac definitely felt long for me, but he's able to really take these subject matters that would seem boring, or these stories that would seem kind of yeah, that would basically seem boring, and uses editing and framing and acting to make it quick and fast and interesting and almost fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Zodiac, half of the movie is Jake Gyllenhaal trying to crack down the killer
Mm-hmm.
using papers and investigations, and it would seem kind of boring. But the way that Fincher always moves the camera, uses music, edits quick cuts, and not in a Michael Bay type of way, but in a almost like an Edgar Wright type of way, where the each shot is purposeful and each cut is meant to illustrate the pacing and to keep the audience engaged. So yeah, that's basically how I feel about Fincher. What about you, Kolby?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I feel funny about David Fincher because despite the fact that I dislike a pretty decent portion of his movies, out of the 11 movies he's directed, including Mank, I would say that there are 4 that I dislike.
Mm-hmm.
However, in every one of his movies, my even the ones that I dislike, my gripe with them is never his direction. In fact, his
Yeah.
direction saves them. Um,
Hmm.
I think the few of his movies that I dislike, I have major problems with the scripts, and I think in general, whatever his taste in screenplays is not the same as mine, and that's okay. Obviously, I'm not gonna, you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do have problems with some of the scripts that he chooses to helm. But even in those movies, the whole time I'm watching it, it's so incredibly clear how much truly painstaking detail and effort is put into these. He has a reputation as a hardcore perfectionist. And if you listen to an interview with any one of his actors, the point that keeps getting repeated that every interviewer asks everybody who's worked with him is how many takes he'll do. Interviewers always like to ask,
Yeah.
what was the most amount of takes you ever did with him? And some people say, oh, there was one shot we did 50 takes or 60 takes.
Sometimes over 100.
Yeah, he's
It's
known for
insane.
doing crazy amounts of takes. And especially since he started using digital cameras over film because it
Yeah.
allows you to do more takes.
Yeah.
So I have incredible admiration and respect for David Fincher. And even though I say I don't like some of his movies, basically everything but those 4 is a masterpiece. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, his movies are so um so they're so painstakingly perfected. I mean, every detail um is just really really well done.
I also really love his use of CG in his movies
Really.
because you can't tell it's CG.
Yeah.
It's so perfect. Like you look back at the movie and you're shocked. Like if you
Mhm.
look at behind the scenes on Zodiac, behind the scenes on
Yeah, Zodiac has a
what
ton of
Dragon
CGI that you would
Tattoo,
never expect.
has a lot of CG on scenes that you didn't even think had
Hmm.
CG
And me and
that
you
you would
have
think didn't
have
need
said
it.
before how much me and you hate the overuse of CGI. And in the hands of
Yeah,
another director, I would say that's stupid. You could just shoot that scene for real. You don't need the CGI. But the reason he uses a
yeah,
lot of it is because he's such a perfectionist, and he when he makes true story movies, he wants them to be as accurate as possible. And sometimes the only way to do that is with CGI, because literally there were times in Zodiac where something about the architecture of the city changed since it took
hmm
place. So he used CGI to
to make
render the
the
buildings in the
architecture of that
background of
time.
shots the way that they were when Zodiac takes place instead of in the when they shot it,
Yeah,
which is insane. And I think he gets away
that's
with that
crazy.
because he's very good at directing visual effects, and because his
Hmm.
career started in visual effects, which we'll talk about.
Hmm.
Um, and so I agree with you, especially in his later films. There are in his very early films there are points where because it was the '90s, the CGI doesn't age well, but that's really out of his
Yeah,
control.
yeah. No,
Um,
I agree, especially Fight Club.
yeah, but I would say everything
But
after the early, I would say
everything
everything
after
after
is just
2000, really.
pretty seamless.
Yeah.
Like
Um,
even Benjamin Button with the old Brad Pitt.
Yeah, it ages
like that.
pretty well.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
So I guess we could. I mean, do we have anything else to say about him besides how awesome he is?
Do you want to walk through his career?
Yeah.
Let's do it. I got his IMDb pulled up right here. So
awesome.
Let's just have a little history lesson on David Fincher now.
Listen up, kids.
Gather around, children. Grandpappy's going to tell you a story. So David Fincher. So David Fincher really started his Hollywood career in 1983. When he was, quick maths, 20. Hold on. Am I doing my math wrong? No, he was 21 years old. That's crazy. And he started working at ILM. If you don't know what that is, it's Industrial Light and Magic. It is a company that specializes in visual effects in film. It was founded by George Lucas specifically for Star Wars. And to this day, they have done the VFX in, and I really mean this, every movie you've ever seen that has major VFX.
And we're not even kidding. Like, literally every movie.
All of them. They did all the Star Wars, all the Indiana Jones. They've done, I think, every Marvel movie, at least most of the Marvel movies. They did Avatar, all the Transformers.
So. If it's directed by Steven Spielberg, it's from them.
Yeah.
If it's an Amblin or Universal, it's from ILM.
Yeah.
Or Disney.
They did A Quiet Place recently. They did the Cloverfield movies. Everything. I'm not going to list them all because it would literally take so long.
2 episodes.
Yeah, they've done every movie ever. So David Fincher starts working with them as a young man in 1983, and he works on the visual effects for Return of the Jedi, Neverending Story, and Temple of Doom.
Damn.
So he's starting at 21 years old in the industry on huge movies, right?
Crazy.
Then in 1984, he gets his first directing job, and he directs the Rick Springfield music video, Bop Till You Drop. And then for the next 8 years, he directs a ton of huge, iconic music videos. So many. And he works with huge names. He does more Rick Springfield. He works with The Outfield, The Motels.
Madonna?
Yeah, he works with Madonna. He works with Patrick Swayze. He works with Sting and Foreigner. He works with Paula Abdul, Martha Davis.
He's in his 20s by now. That's
Aerosmith. He works with Billy Idol. George Michael.
Good God.
And then after, I mean, it's just a huge, crazy list of music videos that I can't even walk all the way through. He directs his first feature film, which is in 1992, Alien 3. This is a movie that most people consider bad. A lot of people
it's the first bad Alien sequel that everybody says is
a lot of people consider it a bad Alien movie, and I think most people that I've talked to or that I've interacted with on like Letterboxd or just kind of film online circles regarded as the worst David Fincher movie. I've seen a lot of people just not even include it. If you look up on YouTube, David Fincher supercut, David Fincher tribute. If you look up on Letterboxd, David Fincher movies ranked. Most people just don't even have it in there.
Well, it's publicly known that he disowns the movie.
He does, yeah. He disowns the movie and he dislikes it.
He hated working on this.
Yeah, so this movie, what's important to note here is that this is the start of his reputation as a perfectionist and as somebody with a hardcore vision and a drive to fulfill that vision exactly. Because after being hired, he was fired 3 different times from this movie. He had so much clash with the studio. This movie had a lot of studio interference, and they wouldn't let him do the things he wanted to do. They wouldn't let him just stay true to his vision. He was a newcomer, he wasn't the David Fincher yet. So he had so much incredible opposition on this movie. There are stories about how there was one story that the producer told him, you may not shoot the scene. They had gone to set that day. They had it set up for this shot. And the producer said, you will not shoot the scene. I forbid it. We're not funding you for this scene. This scene's not going to be in the movie. I swear to God. David Fincher said, okay. And then when the producer walked away, he himself grabbed a camera and grabbed Sigourney Weaver and he shot it himself. As quickly as he could. That scene's in the final cut of the movie.
That's crazy.
He's a very determined man. So, Seb, you haven't seen this movie, right?
No, I have not.
So
I have seen the first two Alien.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Are you a big fan of those two movies?
Yes. The first Alien is a masterpiece. It's the first horror movie that I saw. And Aliens is awesome.
So
I think it's known that if you don't give a crap about aliens, you might enjoy Alien 3. But if you have a love for it...
Okay, that's exactly what I was about to say. Yeah.
You're not going to like Alien 3?
So, here's what's funny. We're going to super briefly touch on this, and then we'll move on to the rest of his movies. I watched Alien 3 last night.
Mm-hmm.
I totally get why somebody who has a strong connection to the first two movies and is an Alien fan would hate it. But I personally have almost no connection to those movies. I just never got into them the same way most people do. And I freaking love Alien 3. I do not think it deserves the hate, man.
Whoa.
I know.
Have you seen the first two?
Yes, I have. They're great. I mean, they're good. The first one's...
Okay.
I mean, the first one's masterful. The second one is fun. Yes. But I really liked this one. And I was so shocked. I didn't think I would like it because everyone hates it.
Yeah.
And because, like I said, I mean, while I recognized how good they are, I just never really vibed with the first two Aliens. I never got into them. Sorry if that's blasphemy. Okay. But I really like Alien 3, man. I think people need to give this movie another chance. And here's the thing. This movie is very different from the first two, and it kind of does that Last Jedi thing where it mostly disregards the stuff set up by the first two. So it is frustrating if you're a fan of the franchise. But I was able to just enjoy this movie in a very kind of self-contained way.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, regardless of the continuity that comes before it, I just enjoyed it as a singular and individual sci-fi horror. I thought it was a very good and effective sci-fi horror. David Fincher's really good at directing horror. And he doesn't really that much do, like, straight horror for the rest of his career.
No, I don't think he's actually made a straight horror movie. And he should.
Alien 3 is pretty... It's the most horror thing he's
Alien
done.
3 is technically a horror, isn't it?
Yeah. It's very good. In my opinion. Most people would say it sucks. The only thing I think is honestly bad about this movie, and like I'll give people that, is that the CGI, and this is relevant to what you were saying earlier, it sucks. It's so bad.
Okay.
Because it was 1992. So of course it is.
Oh, this was pre-Jurassic Park.
Correct. But I will say that's not a total excuse because the people making the movie should have had the foresight to use practical effects. The first two Aliens did it wonderfully, and there are certain scenes of this movie, mainly close-ups of the xenomorph, where they do use really good practical effects. But for all the wide shots, they use a fully CGI xenomorph, and it's really bad.
Gross.
However, I think this is a good movie, and you should give it another chance. Okay.
I'll check it out today. I mean, it's on my watch list, so I'll check it out.
I hope you like it. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I probably won't, but okay.
Probably.
No, we'll see. I don't really know what it's about, so we'll see.
So after Alien 3, Fincher does a couple more music videos. He does another Madonna and a Michael Jackson and a Rolling Stones and another Aerosmith. And he does a couple of commercials. He does a Levi's, a Coca-Cola, and a Nike.
Mm.
And then his second feature film is freaking Seven.
Some say his very first film.
I know, because people just like to pretend Alien 3 doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But this is really the first David Fincher film that captures his voice, and that is indicative of the rest of his filmography. Yeah.
For sure.
Seven is definitely what puts him on the map as the David Fincher.
His second movie, that's crazy.
I know. And so we're going to talk about this later in depth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Then he makes The Game. Sebastian, have you seen The Game?
I have not seen the game.
It is a small scale, and I think very forgotten David Fincher movie. I mean, other
Yeah.
than Alien 3, which is intentionally forgotten, I think this is the one that the most people forget about. A lot of people would call it underrated. My personal opinion is that it is correctly rated because it's not that good. But a lot of people really like it. So, good for them.
And we discussed that it's probably because your opinions on the ending.
Yeah,
right?
if you watch this movie, the ending will decide how you feel about it most likely. And for me, it did not work, but for a lot of people, it does. But for David Fincher himself, it doesn't. He has said, we kind of started making this with no plan for the third act, and that was a huge mistake because it ended up being a disaster.
It's weird because again, like you said, it's not like it's labeled as one of his worst movies. It's an underrated movie, but people like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's pretty crazy to think that they kind of Transformers 2 it. They did the same thing in Transformers 2. They had no script and they started shooting. That's crazy. I can't believe that. But yeah, I gotta watch the game. I haven't been able to see the game. It's on my watch list. I look forward to it.
I think up to this point in his filmography, based on The Game and Alien 3 and what went wrong, you can see why he's such a perfectionist.
How so?
Well, because when he didn't have his creative vision fully planned out from the beginning, because in Alien they kept changing it, and the studios wouldn't let him do his creative vision, and in The Game they didn't have a third act written, he made movies he wasn't proud of. And so from these points on, I feel like he has to commit to,
He's like, you know what? This time, I'm going to make it good. Right. I'm going to, full send it.
Right.
No turning back. Yeah, I get you. I'd probably be the same way.
I mean, definitely, yeah. It's what you have to fail when you're young in order to be a legend when you're older.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're Damien Chazelle.
Unless you're Damien Chazelle, then you're a perfect boy. You were born.
You're a perfect man.
You were born an angel. I'm just kidding. I'm sure he.
No, I'm kidding. Well, Guy and Madeline's not exactly perfect, so there you go.
I haven't seen it. But there you go, yeah. I guess he kind of failed that one.
It's great, but it's not like Whiplash, which is perfect.
Anyway, after The Game, he makes Fight Club.
Ooh.
This is very widely regarded. One of, if not his best movies, one of, if not the best movies. It kind of has a reputation as like the film bro movie, Yeah,
the film
love
bro
this movie
for sure. It's like Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, it totally falls under that family of Pulp Fiction and The Dark Knight and
Dark Knight or Godfather.
Yeah, Godfather. Godfather kind of is in a different.
Yeah, it's different.
But
yeah, Dark Knight would be another good example.
What do you have thoughts on Fight Club?
Yeah, I've seen it. I hadn't seen it until recently. I've always wanted to watch it, obviously, because it's like what you said. It's labeled as one of the best, if not the best. I'm sorry. It's great. I love it. It is definitely overwhelming.
Yeah.
In the beginning, like at first, I was like, "Oh God, I'm not in the mood for this," but it quickly won me over to the point where I couldn't look away from the screen. And I knew the plot twist going in, and we're not going to spoil it because we don't have to.
Sure.
But even then, it's like I was still pretty wowed by the performances. Of course, Fincher's directing. The soundtrack's not that great.
The score sucks. I'm a flat out say it.
The score's not that good.
The score. It's a bad score.
It's bad. Yeah, it's not very good. That's like the worst aspect of the movie and the CG. But besides
the CG's
that,
outdated,
everything
but it's
else
not
really makes up for it.
Yeah.
It's subtle, typical, but yeah, I love the movie. I think it's great. And I know you have a differing opinion, Kolby.
I have briefly mentioned on this podcast before that I'm not a big fan of Fight Club. And I think
Yes.
this is like a big film student blasphemy that a lot of people want me to die for. Um, let me say, um, I think Fight Club is a good movie. I think it's incredibly well directed and edited and acted. The cinematography is great on every technical level and on every craft level, aside from the score.
Yeah.
It's really good. I just I have very personal gripes with it. I just find it very nauseating and annoying.
Mm-hmm.
I got it. It's hard. It's a hard movie for me to talk about, and I don't want to go on a whole tangent because I could do a whole episode on Fight Club, and I don't want to. Um, for me, the things that I don't like about it are also things that I know are intentional and how I'm supposed to feel. And so the more I don't like it, the more I actually recognize it for how impressive of a movie it is.
I
Right?
see.
But
Yeah, I get you.
and I also watched it recently, and I think if I did watch it when I was younger, like a lot of people did, I would have loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just the year 2020 that I'm like craving some positivity, and this movie's the opposite of that. I don't know, man.
I see what you mean.
But
Yeah, because it's not a very positive movie
it's
at all.
so
It's
grimy and
so
gross,
gross.
and
Yeah.
I can appreciate that in a movie, but here it does feel gratuitous in a lot of ways. It doesn't, even though the movie has a strong point and a strong theme.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I don't know, maybe it's also just my opinion of it is tainted by the people who love it being annoying.
It's a little annoying. Yeah.
Um,
No, I agree.
yeah. So I'm sorry. And if you love Fight Club, good for you. I get it. You should love it. It's great. But I don't.
Yeah.
I watched it and I was like, that was a really, really well made movie. And I do not want to watch it again.
Really? You would
Yeah.
never see it again?
I probably will at some point down the line.
Yeah.
I mean, just to see if anything changes outside of the year 2020, or
Mm-hmm.
if my opinion on it differs with age. But for right now, it's just not my kind of movie.
That's totally fine. Totally get that. We'll just save our podcast. Yeah, it's great. I love it. We'll watch it if you haven't seen it already.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Um.
It's one of Finch's best. It deserves what it does.
Right.
If you're into that grimy, very depressing, almost bizarre
Incredibly
movies
nihilistic.
that are very high energy,
Yeah.
watch it. It's awesome.
Wildly high
It's
energy. Like
and
relentlessly.
it's very funny. I think it's very funny.
It is funny.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's iconic. It's great. It's
So
great.
now that
10 out of 10.
people are gonna kick in my door and shoot me in the head within the next couple minutes. um,
Imagine.
After Fight Club, Fincher makes Panic Room with Jodie Foster. Have you seen this?
I have not. I have not seen half of his movies.
Another pretty underrated Fincher movie. Personally, I think it's really great. It is a very engaging, very like small stakes contained thriller. It's sort of Hitchcockian.
Ooh.
I recommend it. It's fun. I'd say the only gripe with it is that the ending is like a bit too easy thematically, but it's nonetheless very satisfying. Great movie. Check it out.
I like it. It's on my watch list, obviously. I will watch it.
Yeah. After Panic Room, and he does music videos between all of his movies, but I'm just gonna highlight on this one because it's the first time he works with Nine Inch Nails, who would then go on to compose like every single one of his movies.
Yeah.
Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who we've talked about before in our Social Network episode.
Great composers.
Great composers. So that's the beginning of that wonderful relationship. Then he also does George Michael and Paula Abdul. He makes a very popular commercial called Beer Run with Brad Pitt. And then, 2007, he makes Zodiac. Oh, baby.
Oh my god.
Zodiac. Seb, thoughts quickly?
I have seen Zodiac. It's scary. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Especially Zodiac is like a great mixture of documentary and fictionalized storytelling. It
Mm-hmm.
feels both theatrical and cinematic, yet real and creepy at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I love the cast. I love the fact. Oh, never. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I love the ending. That
Yes.
it's kind of almost essentially what happens in real life.
Yeah.
It leaves you on a bad taste in a good way. Um, yeah, it's great. It's really awesome. It's a little long. I felt the length because I watched
Me
it and
too.
when it was like 1 in the morning.
Oh, jeez.
1 in the morning with my grandma or something. We were just like, let's watch Zodiac. And we loved it. She loves that stuff.
Yeah.
The whole investigation, um, detective and murders. Um, and I'm gonna say the basement scene.
Oh,
It's the
man.
scariest scene
Oh, baby.
ever.
Such a good scene. You'll know. We're
Holy
not going to spoil
crap!
anything, but you will know it when you see it.
You will know when you watch it. The basement scene.
The
Oh my
basement
god.
scene.
No, dude. I'm glad that you felt the same way.
Yeah.
I don't get scared with movies. I don't get scared at all. I love horror. I love spooky things. I was scared. That was scary.
And that's another
Yeah,
great testament
Zodiac
to
is awesome.
Fincher as a director because this is not a horror movie.
No,
It's like a slow burn detective crime thriller, but he's so good at doing suspense and tension that it ends up being horrific, even though it really isn't horror.
like there's barely any. Like, is there blood in the movie?
There's a bit.
There's a bit, right? But
It's all
it's not like
CGI.
gratuitous.
No, it's not gratuitous.
It's not like Seven.
And this is definitely his most painstakingly, attention to detail movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, he spent so much time researching the real Zodiac cases, and he was very dead set on portraying them with absolute accuracy.
That's crazy. I can only imagine. Yeah, Zodiac is on Netflix right now, isn't it?
Yes, very good.
Yes. Go
The year
watch it
after
if you
Zodiac,
haven't seen it.
2008, David Fincher makes The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Seb, I believe you've seen this one?
It's been a long, long time, but I have seen it, yes.
Do you have thoughts?
I remember it being weird. I remember crying. I remember old man Brad Pitt, ugly baby, woman steps on ugly baby. Kate Blanchett falls in love with Brad Pitt. Baby dies at the end. Oops, spoilers.
Oh!
And
Should I cut that out?
and, there's a clock with water going down a basement. That's all I remember. I don't have much thoughts. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like that's a very good description of this movie.
That's the movie.
Benjamin Button is an interesting concept, and I think the third act of this movie, the last third of it, is super interesting, but everything before that honestly could have been 20 minutes. Like, the first hour and a half of this movie could have been 20 minutes. It is so dragged out, and it is not necessary, and this movie's just too long. It's just too long.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I think it's solid. I think it's passable, but do I like it? Not really. Did I enjoy watching it? I wanted to go to sleep, man.
So it's more on a technical level. They love it, obviously.
On a technical level, like everything else, like we said, his direction of it is masterful. Truly, truly masterful. But the script isn't. And let me touch on the script. It's written by Eric Roth, who is a renowned legendary screenwriter, but he also wrote Forrest Gump. And I have a gripe with Benjamin Button, and I think other people have said this before, but it is the same movie as Forrest Gump.
It's as dumb as Forrest Gump?
It's just the same plot. It's just the same structure.
Let me make it clear. I like Forrest Gump. Don't get me wrong.
But 3 hours long and less interesting.
I see. Forrest Gump is dumb. I mean, I love it. It's great, but it's so dumb.
Yeah.
We can talk about Forrest Gump.
It's good.
Day.
Shouldn't have beat.
But no, it's great.
Shouldn't have beat Shawshank or Pulp Fiction.
No, Pulp Fiction should have won.
I think Shawshank should have won.
All right, well, your opinion's invalid.
I'll meet you out back. We can have fisticuffs.
Yeah, we can fight with each other's Blu-rays of Pulp Fiction and Shawshank and see which one breaks first. I don't know.
Yeah.
Shawshank sucks. No,
well, like Beyblade style, like spin the discs at each other.
Yeah. Perfect. Oh, yeah, Benjamin Button. That's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. After Benjamin Button... Oh, but also, of course, it's his most Oscar-nominated movie, so the Academy's stupid.
Really?
Yeah.
It wasn't Social Network?
Benjamin Button got more nominations.
So weird. Out of all the movies.
After Benjamin Button, he makes Social Network. We have done a whole episode on this. If you want to know our thoughts, go check it out! I'm not going to give them to you for free! Just kidding, that episode's free.
It's great.
But,
10 out of 10, it's great.
No, don't tell them! They have to go watch the episode!
Oh, 9 out of 10.
Stop!
0. It sucks. Don't want... Oh.
I'm just kidding. It's a super good movie. A lot of people consider it his masterpiece. I kind of agree. It's great, but we're not going to touch on it today because we already did that.
Yes.
So shut up. Don't comment. Why didn't you talk about Social Network? Just go watch our episode on Social Network.
Yes, you hacks. Listen to us. We know what we're talking about, even though we're on a show where we have no idea what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Yes.
After Social Network, he makes The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yes.
Do you have thoughts on this one, Seb?
I've not seen it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm so scared that I'm gonna get murdered after this episode because I have so much blasphemy. But
oh my god,
I really hate this movie.
What?
This is actually my least favorite Fincher movie.
Really?
A lot of people like it, and cool, good for you. I just think I don't give a single crap about any of these characters in the movie. I don't care about them. I find them very unsympathetic and uninteresting and unengaging, and I think the movie, once again, is just too dragged out, and it doesn't need to be as long as it is. So...
I've been steering away from the movie because I hear there's a rape scene, and I don't like...
Yeah, there's also like an extremely graphic rape scene, and you could kind of argue whether or not it's gratuitous or whether it's like what's the content in it needs to be in it for the, for the effect, for the, but it's very hard to watch, and I imagine if somebody has any sort of real life experience with that, it's going to be very triggering. So just watch with caution if you're going to watch it.
Blech.
Yeah.
Gross.
It's a tough one.
Now I want to watch it since you don't like
it. So we can fight.
So we can fight with our Blu-rays again. Heck yeah.
I did buy this on Blu-ray, and I watched it, and I was like, dang it, I own this now.
You can give it to me.
Sure, you can borrow it. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. After Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, he directs Gone Girl, which we're going to talk about in more detail. Yeah.
Oh my god, yes.
And
finally.
Yeah.
And then after Gone Girl,
he
was Gone Fincher for 7 years.
Yeah,
oh boy.
He spent 7 years working on Mindhunter as an executive producer and sometimes as a director.
Great show. Highly recommend. It's awesome.
I haven't seen it.
It's awesome. Dude, you should watch it.
I should watch it. And then
super great.
About a week ago, he comes out... Not a week ago. 2 weeks ago? Sometime. He comes out with Mank.
He even did House of Cards.
That's true. He did direct a couple episodes of House of Cards.
Crazy.
And did he produce
House of Cards changed like TV forever. You know that?
I mean, I haven't seen it.
But House of Cards was the first original Netflix.
I didn't realize that. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah. It was the first original Netflix.
Oh, I did not even know that. So that did change TV forever, for sure.
Yeah. And then obviously everything's going on Netflix now to the point where Fincher is releasing his own movie on Netflix.
So crazy that movie changed the world without even having a main actor. There's no main actor. There's no one.
Oh.
He doesn't exist.
Who was that? Where does he go?
Well.
What the? So random. It's just, long takes of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's great.
Yep.
Oh, Robin Wright's there too.
Robin Wright's
Speaking
great.
of
She's a wonderful actor.
Robin Wright, she's in House of Cards. And speaking of House of Cards, it's directed by David Fincher. Speaking of David Fincher,
You just segued backwards. That was amazing.
He directed two of our favorites of his, which is Seven and Gone Girl.
Ooh! It only took this long into the episode to get to that basically intro.
It's almost like you're watching a Fincher film.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's such a good point. That's such a good... Dude, in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, it literally takes an hour and a half for the two main characters to meet and start the plot. It literally takes an hour and a half. I'm not going to rant about Dragon Tattoo, but...
Probably just a hater.
Yeah, I am just...
Probably great. You're just not patient.
Honestly, that might be true. I don't doubt it.
Really?
I'm sorry. People love it, so like, good for them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. But anyway, let's talk about which one first.
Seven,
directed by Damien Chazelle. Who directed this?
Steve Buscemi. Anyways,
I'm sorry. Heck yeah.
So Seven is a 1995 film. It is a neo-noir psychological crime thriller. Ooh. The plot follows William Somerset, who is an old detective, very close to his retirement. He's played by the great Morgan Freeman. And he partners up with a new rookie detective played by a young Brad Pitt named David Mills, who is short-tempered but very idealistic.
Yeah.
He and he has just moved into the city. And the two of them are tracking down a serial killer who kills his victims based on the 7 deadly sins. So at the beginning of the movie, he kills an obese man, and on the wall in blood, he writes gluttony. And then he kills a rich lawyer, and on the walls in blood, he writes greed, and so on and so on and so on. Mm-hmm. This is a dark, thrilling, violent movie. It is a pretty slow burn mystery. I've actually seen it, like we kind of mentioned earlier. It's not a horror movie, but I've seen it. But I've seen it on like horror lists and stuff. Some people consider it horror.
Scary.
Just because of how scary it is, even though it's not a horror. It's crazy.
What makes it scary is the actual murders. Mm-hmm. What is it? What's the term? The outcome of the murders.
Yeah, like the crime scenes.
It's horrifying.
Yeah.
They feel real. Mm-hmm. You know how Tarantino has this insane use of violence in his movies, and they're kind of fun, and it's almost, you know that it's fake. Mm-hmm. You know that it's not real, and while it's definitely violent, there's almost a sense of joy that you have watching the violence in his movies. Mm-hmm. Here, it literally feels like you stepped into a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Like an actual murder. Nothing of this is fun. Nothing of this is cheery. Nothing of this is over the top in the right way. It is disgusting and disturbing, and you feel chills just from seeing the aftermath, and you can only picture how the whole thing went down. And as the movie just goes on, you just feel gross and scared and unsure and terrified, and especially as you're kind of learning more of the actual murderer, until the very end when you just feel like a pile of caca. It's super dour and it's super gross, but it's crazy how much this has connected with a lot of mainstream audiences. Mm-hmm. This is next to The Social Network, probably Fincher's, maybe even Fight Club too. Fincher's most mainstream movie, for sure.
Mm-hmm. It won Best Film, just overall Best Film, at the MTV Movie Awards that year.
See what I mean?
Yeah, right? That's like weird.
You know what
that
wins?
So mainstream.
Avengers Endgame wins that now.
Yeah.
Freaking Seven won that. many years ago. That's crazy.
That's weird. It beat Braveheart.
Well, Braveheart's good, but Seven's much better.
Yes.
Much better. I'm sorry. I mean, are we gonna spoil the movie?
I think we can. It's
Yeah,
been 25 years. It's a classic. If you
it's a
haven't,
classic.
so from this point on, if you haven't seen the movie, we recommend that you watch it before listening to the rest of this episode.
Go see it. It's awesome. It's perfect. Well done. Very good. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert: Bruce Willis is a ghost, and he's also the father of Brad Pitt. I don't know. No. Spoiler alert, and I had no idea when I watched it. Kevin Spacey is the killer. And I was shocked. I knew the ending of What's in the Box,
What's in the box?
but I had no idea that Kevin Spacey was in the movie.
Yeah, he just
So
appears.
when he appeared in that very haunting scene when he's like, detective, and he screams at him, and they arrest him, and he's completely bloody. His hand and his fingernail and his finger, what is it? Fingertips.
Mm-hmm. Or cut off.
They're just completely cut off. So he has no fingerprints. It's just so gross.
The movie...
And now, especially that Kevin Spacey is such a nasty person, it makes it even creepier.
That's true. Yeah. Screw that guy. But...
Yeah.
The
Great
movie
actor,
does such an incredible subversion of your expectations because 2/3 into the movie, Kevin Spacey, who they really smartly and intentionally never advertised as being in the movie. He's not in any trailers or any posters or anything. His name's not even top billing because they didn't want to spoil that he's in it. He's not even in the opening credits. No, he's not. He's not in the opening credits. He just shows up. And not only does he show up, but he confesses. So you're 2/3 into the movie and you have no idea who murdered it, and then somebody just shows up and it's like the case is over. You think it's not, but you think it is. But it's like, wait, what? He just confessed? It's over? Why? Huh?
Yeah,
what?
And so you don't know where it's gonna go from there.
That makes the last third so much more... You would think that would extinguish the suspense, but it makes it so much more suspenseful. Because now... we don't know why he did this, but we can tell he's got a plan.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know that this is what he wanted to do. It's not like he gave up and felt the need to turn himself in.
Yeah.
There's something sinister behind this plan of his, and you're uneasy for the rest of the movie. I mean, you're uneasy for the whole movie, but from then on, it's like, oh no. Oh no!
Mm-hmm.
Great stuff.
It's funny the way you describe it being so grimy and gross and dour. That's kind of how I feel about like Fight Club.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a little bit differently about this movie. It is extremely dark and grimy and gross. However, I think one, it is so incredibly engaging and thrilling that it doesn't really turn you off.
No, it doesn't turn you off. I didn't mean it like that. I'm just saying they never shy away from how awful these murders are.
Definitely. The production design and the makeup, costume design on these crime scenes is
amazing.
It's crazy. It's so insane.
The costumes, even like Morgan Freeman, like, he looks like he's straight out of the 1950s.
Yeah.
Like, it feels very nostalgic yet modern at the same time. Like, their body cop is very 80s. His costume is very 50s. The murders are very of now. It's almost timeless in a way.
Yeah, it is very timeless. It was made to be very timeless. As far as you said it leaves you feeling like sick and just down. Mm-hmm. Something that I think was so thematically important about the movie to me is, and I want to know what you thought about this, like, for me, the whole movie is about the fact that, yeah, everything sucks. Literally, the whole world sucks.
Yeah.
everything sucks. This movie beats you down. But by the end, there is this incredibly small glimmer of hope that you can hold on to. Did you feel that?
I mainly remember just in awe and kind
Right.
of afraid of what I watched.
Hmm.
I would need to rewatch it, but I mean, you don't sound wrong for thinking that. Like, why would you say that?
So the reason I say that, throughout the movie, the whole dichotomy between the two main characters is that Somerset is tired and old, and he has had this hard job, and it's only gotten worse and worse, and he's only seen more gruesome things, and he's so close to the end, and he is just so apathetic and ready to give up. Meanwhile, Mills, because he's this brand new detective, is very idealistic. He is kind of optimistic, despite the fact that everything around them is incredibly nihilistic.
Oh yeah,
right?
For sure.
The movie takes place in an extremely like nihilist world, and so there's interesting dichotomy between them, and there's a really interesting conversation that I think really highlights this, and it's in a scene where they're sitting at a bar and they're talking about the case and about just the job. And Somerset is talking about how he can't wait to retire soon, and he just needs to get out of here. He needs to get out of this city, out of this job. And Mills is really kind of insulting him and saying, you know, that's so stupid. Like, what's wrong with you? How can you be so apathetic? And Somerset has a line where he says, "Apathy is a solution. It's easier," and I'm reading from the script here. "It's easier to lose yourself in drugs than it is to cope with life. It's easier to steal what you want than it is to earn it, and it's easier to beat a child than it is to raise it, because love costs and takes effort and work."
Wow.
And they argue about this, and at the end, Mills says, "I don't think that you're quitting because you believe these things you say. I think you want to believe them because you're quitting."
Oh.
I think what this movie really is, even though it presents itself with such a nihilism, it's promoting, holding on to this, albeit incredibly small glimmer of hope that exists, no matter how gross and gruesome and morbid the world gets. And the very last line of the movie, which is a line that apparently I read somewhere Fincher didn't really want in the movie, but I'm glad it's in there because it's like so perfect. And Somerset, Morgan Freeman, says it after, basically, big spoiler for the ending, Brad Pitt kills Kevin Spacey's character, and therefore Kevin Spacey's character wins because that's what he wants. That was all a part of his plan. Brad Pitt is arrested for life, and now Morgan Freeman has to decide, okay, well, I was so close to retirement and he was supposed to take over for me, but now I can't retire. Now I have to keep fighting for what he wanted, which was, this small glimmer of hope. And so the last line that Somerset says is, Ernest Hemingway once wrote, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for. I agree with the second part."
That's great.
I know, it's like he's saying, I think that's the theme of the movie. I think that's the theme stated.
The world sucks, but we gotta fight for it.
Right.
Yeah. That's great. I love that. I remember that.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's beautiful.
That's awesome.
But it's also
I'm glad it's there.
horrible and disgusting.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Which is why you're not far off for thinking the ending has like this sense of hopefulness. But yeah, it is pretty like, it has a great balance of not leaving you completely in the gutter, but not exactly being a happy ending at the same time.
I think a big part of the reason that ending works so well and that glimmer of hope does feel tangible is because of how well the movie presents the world as a dire and bleak place, like you're saying.
True.
I think that's accomplished through the production design and through the cinematography, because they used a really interesting coloring style in the movie where they left in like very, very heavy black tones.
Yeah.
It's very like grainy film, which I love the look of it.
I love the look of the movie, yeah.
I've never really seen another movie with this movie's look.
It's unique to itself for sure. It's dark, but it's not like not pleasant to look at. It's a weird balance of
Yeah,
being
I do feel like that weird balance
like
is at the core of this movie.
yeah. Like it's not like Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland where it's the nastiest thing you've ever seen. It's like it's intentionally trying to be nasty, but you're just in awe of the perfection behind it.
Yeah.
Of like the actual, because again he's such a perfectionist, so you're able to kind of be in awe of the fact that he was able to pull it off while also being, yeah, it's hard to describe, but I know what you mean. It's both like really cool to look at, but it's like ugh. It's not distractingly gross. My overall impressions of it, and again I've seen it once and I still remember a lot. Again, not like the complete details like you're saying, which I think is pretty crazy that you've only seen it once and you're able to still obtain such memories and detail.
It sticks with you
in
hard.
certain moments. It really does.
Yeah. I watched it for the first time fairly recently. I'd say a month ago, and maybe more. And it was just on my mind for a week. I just couldn't. I just listened to every podcast I could find where they discussed it. You know, I watched analysis videos of it. I just needed to think about it.
Yeah.
I love when movies do that.
An obsession. It's almost like Jake Gyllenhaal and Zodiac.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
you
true.
go in your room, it's just 7 posters.
Yeah, I'm like obsessing over it and like writing a book over it.
Kolby?
My wife leaves me.
Okay.
Because I'm too obsessed with 7.
With 7. But babe, it's so good. Just Blu-rays of 7 all over your house.
Yeah.
Good God.
An aspect of it that I love is the design of the city that it takes place in. And so this is honestly something I didn't even like notice about it until like reading about the movie afterwards. But in the movie, and I don't know if you noticed this, they never clarify what the city is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Watching the movie, I assumed it was New York. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But it was intentionally meant to be just a generic urban city because the writer, Andrew Kevin Walker, wanted it to be, you know, a stand-in for anywhere. Because I think the city in this movie, and that's all they keep calling it, the city, or this city, is a microcosm for, you know, everything. For the world.
That doesn't take place in one
modern
area.
Society.
It can be anywhere.
Yeah. We live in a society.
That's crazy.
I assumed it was New York like you, but also at the end of the movie they drive out to a desert, which was actually filmed in California, which implies that, oh, this isn't New York, maybe it's LA, right? I think really in canon it's just, you know, for it's Metropolis or whatever, it's Gotham, you know, it's a
Gotham.
generic urban city.
Gotham.
Yeah, Gotham's a more accurate description. But I think the design of the city is so geniusly like oppressive, and I love it. And you know it's raining in every scene of the movie in the city?
Is it really?
Yeah, before they go out to the desert, it's always raining.
It's almost like Seattle.
Yeah.
It's like a mixture of Seattle, LA, and New York.
Yeah. And in real life, that was like only due to time restraints that they had to film all of Brad Pitt's scenes really close together. But I do think it kind of became a really great artistic choice that works for the movie in making this area feel like it's bearing down on you.
And again, it feels like it's. Yeah, I didn't notice that, but like looking back, I'm like I can see what you mean. I'm remembering. Like the city feels like its own place, and like it doesn't feel like seclusive to New Yorkers, or seclusive to people who are in LA. It's seclusive to these characters, and I think that's really cool.
Rating for 7?
Oh, 10.
Me too.
By far.
I think it's actually my number 1 favorite Fincher movie.
Second favorite. because we will be talking about my favorite next, which is Gone Girl.
Ooh.
Hey,
Ooh, segue.
I like it. Okay. So Gone Girl is Fincher's, what is it? Seventh, sixth, eighth, ninth? I don't know.
Wait,
It's
Mank is his 11th, which would make Gone Girl his 10th.
his 10th. Wow. Okay. Gone Girl is Fincher's 10th film. Released in 2014, starring Ben Affleck, Rosamund Pike, and it's written by Gillian Flynn. Gillian or Gillian?
I believe it's
think it's
Gillian.
Gillian Flynn. She wrote Widows, which is another very underrated, awesome movie. She just writes stuff about women and how men are just terrible, terrible dudes, but in a sleek way, like in a really classic way, not in a totally pandering way. And essentially, the movie starts off as a mystery. We meet Ben Affleck after meeting up with his sister at a bar. He comes back home. His wife has disappeared. His wife, played by Rosamund Pike, her name is Amy in the movie, and she's missing. And so they go on a search for her. Things kind of begin to heighten a bit. We kind of do flashbacks into who she was, what led to this point, until we get to essentially the middle of the movie, where we learn what's happening.
Big spoiler.
And it's a big spoiler. Spoiler warning. She's alive, and she essentially kind of frames Nick, who's Ben Affleck, into having the whole town think that he murdered her because she wants. It's almost like a revenge plot.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. The movie starts off as a mystery, and then it becomes a thriller, and then it becomes satire at the end.
Yeah.
It's an insane jumble of genres. And no matter how many times I watch it, I'm just in complete awe of the twists, the revelations, the acting, Fincher's use of the camera, the score. It's so, again, it's very cinematic yet feels grounded. It's so gross yet is super clean and smooth. Everybody in this movie is a terrible human being.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to an extent. And guess what? I never thought I would say this. The movie needed more Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry was great in this. Tyler Perry actually weighed down all the nasty, terrible, awful, awful things. Fincher likes to play with people who are perverts, which is pretty crazy. I think he even has like this famous interview where he says that people are perverts, and he likes to discover, or he likes to kind of delve into that psychology of people, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, I think no time is wasted on this movie. Greatly paced, perfectly paced, great acting, great screenplay, great directing, and I think it's one of those where how it ends will depend on how you view it, because apparently some people don't like the movie, and I'm like, what? I had no idea. Like, for me, it works 100%. It's the perfect date movie. That's for sure. It's not. I'm kidding. You will never want to be with anybody after watching this movie. But I feel like I'm rambling. Kolby, what do you have to think? What do you have to say about Gone Girl?
I think I agree with you on every level. This is such a ingenious, fascinating mystery that really unfolds as it goes along.
Mm-hmm. It's his most Hitchcockian movie for sure.
I would agree. It's interesting that you say it's his most Hitchcockian, because his next movie that he's making is a remake of Hitchcock's Strangers on a Train.
Are you serious?
And is written by Ben Affleck and Gillian Flynn of this movie.
David Fincher's next movie?
Mm-hmm.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I need to look this up right now. That sounds amazing. What? Strangers on a Train.
His version is just going to be called Strangers.
What the heck? It's not happening anytime soon. Committed to reteaming.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a while.
It'll be a while.
Mm-hmm.
There hasn't really been anything since 2015. It's on hold, but we'll see.
Okay.
Oh, that would be so awesome. Anyways, back to Gone Girl.
But yeah, Gone Girl. This is what I think is so interesting about this movie, and the thing that I love most about it is that it's about awful people. And yet, it does a really good job of making you feel engaged with them and like you want to see what happens next. And like I mentioned earlier, my biggest problem with Dragon Tattoo is that I didn't care about the characters and I did not feel sympathetic towards them. And they're not bad people. This movie, the two protagonists are horrible. They are both
bad people. They're terrible people.
Objectively horrible people. And yet I care so much about what happens to them.
It's weird.
Yeah, that's a huge compliment to Gillian Flynn's writing.
Oh yeah, for sure. She's able to really ground, to kind of ground them. And almost it's a great balance between very cinematic and grounded humans or characters. Because some of the lines are pretty quippy, some of the lines are very movie. But there are moments where it feels like you're kind of just sneaking in, or like a fly on a wall on certain people. It's great writing for sure from Gillian.
Rosamund Pike, we should talk about, is a powerhouse in this movie. It only got nominated for her, which is stupid, but
stupid.
But she deserves it. Her performance is wildly good.
Yes, she's creepy, she's sexy, she's unsettling, and you almost feel bad for her at some point, and then you're like, oh, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's a whirlwind of emotions, my friend. Great performance. It's trying to think. It's the female version of when guys feel sympathetic towards the Joker or relate towards Joker while he commits Joker.
That's funny. That's an interesting comparison.
Or, I mean, how people try to almost relate to them or find like ways to, like a very horrifying. A horrifying. I'm sorry, I'm tired. A horrifying connection with the character. This would be the female version for guys with the Joker. I'm not even kidding, because apparently girls have related to some of the things that she says, especially that amazing cool girl montage.
God, yeah, that's like the monologue that sticks with you from this movie that a lot of people reference back to is the cool girl
That's
monologue.
the revelation. Yeah. Of what's like really going on with the movie. And from there you're like, now what? That's like literally halfway in the movie. And then, oh my God. I feel I can see why this would lose people though. Because as much as it worked for me, like 100%, I think it's awesome. I think it's messed up and it's very cynical, and the fact that, spoilers, he stays with her at the end.
Pretty much against his will.
That could lose some people. I feel like it can really lose some people.
Yeah.
The fact that it kind of ends without her getting what she deserves. Like it ends, like all of his movies have like a sense of, it's not a happy ending, but it's not exactly something that's gonna leave you down for a month. It's a weird bittersweet, because at the end they're both alive and they're both together, but they're not in love. And
no,
she could kill him at any second. He's afraid for his life. He has no choice.
But she
But to submit to her will.
but she blackmails him into staying with her through getting herself pregnant.
Yeah.
So that he is obligated to stay with her and take care of the child. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's genuinely a psychopath.
Yeah, she is.
And Ben Affleck character, he's the victim of the movie, and so he's inherently sympathetic in that way.
In that way,
but
even though he's also
terrible human being. A horrible dude. He's horrible to her. He cheats on her.
He cheats on her.
So
he's a douche. He has he's like always checking out women.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, he has like that douche vibe to him.
Yeah, very much.
He speaks. And
yeah.
It's his best performance, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like the performance that really suits him well. Like, I'm not a huge Ben Affleck dude. I think he's great as Batman. Personally, I hate Batman v Superman. I think he's a great Batman. Great in Good Will Hunting. I don't know anything else that I think he's great in. This is his best performance, definitely. It suits him, especially since he's been in the public eye for many years with his alcoholism and the divorce with his wife. It felt very true to earth and true to who he is as a person, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was very, very well cast. Very well cast. Neil Patrick Harris, too.
Yeah, Neil Patrick Harris is like weirdly good in this movie. And I mentioned during the Social Network thing that David Fincher likes to work with weird actors you wouldn't expect him to. And this movie has good examples between Neil Patrick Harris and Tyler Perry.
Even Mank has examples of that, in a way.
Yeah, that's true.
But we'll get to that eventually.
So one thing, because you mentioned how some people don't like this movie, and one thing that is a common criticism of it is that people think it's basically sexist, because the villain is this manipulative woman who manipulates her husband, who manipulates men, who makes people think that she's a victim when really she's victimizing him. And this is a part that is obviously a very close, very touchy subject for some people. Yeah. But she, and so I think it's natural that it upsets a lot of people, but one of the things, the evil psychopathic thing she does in the movie is she fakes rape cases. She accuses men of raping her when they never did. Mm-hmm. This doesn't sit well with a lot of people, and I totally understand why. This movie does come out before Me Too, before Harvey Weinstein and all of that, right? Yeah. And so looking back on it, it can feel like, okay, what is this movie trying to say? Like, is it saying that, the rape cases are fake and stuff like that? So some people have accused it of being misogynist, even though it's written by this woman, Gillian Flynn, which is interesting.
It's written by a woman.
She has, and not that it's impossible for a woman to be a misogynist, but she has defended herself in basically saying the true misogyny is if we don't let female characters be villains ever, right? Yeah. We have to
I like that.
Yeah, we have to acknowledge that women are just as capable of being a psychopath as men.
Of being evil and psychopathic as men. I love that. That's great.
And so while I do totally understand the criticism of the rape storyline being a bit too on the nose for people, I do think that
but it makes sense for why
it does. It makes a lot of sense for the plot.
Even for women in general, right? To kind of use that.
Thematically, it's weird, but plot-wise, it makes a lot of sense.
Plot-wise, and I think even thematically in a way.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, she makes a great point. Like, if we don't want there to be any more sexism, let's let women do anything guys could do, and if guys can be psychopaths in movies, hell, let women can be psychopaths too, and they can be pretty great. Mm-hmm. Great in the sense that it makes a great performance and it makes great movie. Terrible person, obviously, but great in that it's entertaining to watch. Mm-hmm. Women have their own Hannibal Lecter now. Female Hannibal Lecter.
Guys,
Oh God,
we solved sexism. We did it.
we did it,
All we
boys.
needed
Sexism
was
is
a
no more.
Hannibal Lecter. All this time.
Hannah Lecter. I'm so
That's
sorry.
pretty. I like that.
It's not bad, right? Hannah Lecter. Is there anything else you have to say about Gone Girl, Kolby?
Not really. What about you? It's your favorite Fincher movie. Lay it on us.
I mean, I don't know. It's the one that I always feel like I want to watch more than the rest of his movies. Like I can feel like I can watch it at any time. Like recently when I watched it, I didn't even watch it for this podcast. I just watched it because I want to watch Gone Girl right now. And I've seen this 5 times already.
Wow,
great movie.
And that's a huge testament to the pacing, because we've been talking about how David Fincher movies can have a tendency to drag, and this one is just as long as his others, but I really don't think it drags. I think it has really excellent
Not at all.
pacing.
If anything, I don't know. I never want it to end every time I watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm always enjoying the ride. I'm always on the finding new details and clues. I wish I could go back to when I watched this the first time. I was completely just in awe of what was happening. Yeah, it's again, like I can see why someone would think Seven or Fight Club, and for them why emotionally that's their favorite David Fincher movie. And I think for me it's this one because yeah, like I said, it has a great balance because Seven, again, fantastic movie, 10 out of 10, but it's so gross and it's so scary,
Right.
that it's hard for me to kind of want to say, oh, let's see that again. Let's see that again.
Right.
I kind of need to have it sit with me for a good while before I can even dare try and go back for it. Whereas with Gone Girl, there's enough modernity that it's very, it feel like I always get the sense that I'm the actual disgusting scary moments of the movie
Mm-hmm.
are not as, not, I wouldn't say distracting, they're not the main focal point of the movie.
Yeah.
And they're not what kind of leaves you leaving the way you feel at the end of the movie. It's more of the thematic resolution, or essentially what happens between the two main characters.
It's kind of funny how Fincher has two distinct modes as a director. Like, half of his movies are grimy and muddy, like Seven and Fight Club and Zodiac, and the others are very sleek and modern and clean and kind of metallic, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like Gone Girl and Dragon Tattoo and Panic Room.
And Social Network.
Yeah, and Social Network too.
No, that's true. And then we'll talk about Mank, but Mank, where would you say Mank falls into that? Would that be like the clean? That feels like its own thing.
I guess it would. It doesn't fit the same aesthetics as those other ones you mentioned, but I think it would fall more under the sleek. It's not modern, but it's sleek.
No.
It's not really like muddy.
Sleek, clean. It doesn't feel gross in any way.
Because it's all,
It's
Hollywood.
It's supposed to be romanticism and very glorified and nostalgic, which we'll get to that obviously. But before we finish off, do we have anything to say? Any more to say about Gone Girl?
Ratings?
10 out of 10. Okay, you know the vibes.
I gave it a 9 when I first watched it, and then a week later, after watching Mank and going over my Fincher ranking list, I realized, you know what? That's 10 out of 10.
Nice.
Yeah. So before we
fully agree. Great movie.
Before we wrap up, quick, just briefly, what have you been watching lately, bud?
Oh my god. Well, since it's December, I've been watching a bunch of Christmas movies. I've been watching obviously like Home Alone, Home Alone 2. Oh my god. Have you seen Krampus?
No.
Have you seen Gremlins?
Yes.
Do you like Gremlins?
Yes.
Then you'll enjoy Krampus.
Okay.
Krampus is essentially like there's 80s revival movies. There's movies that make you feel like it's from the 80s or from the 50s or whatever. Krampus feels like it was written in 1982. It does not feel like an actual revival. It feels like a classic 80s movie.
It's like a Santa horror movie, right?
Yeah.
Huh, okay.
It's Gremlins, it's The Dark Crystal, it's Poltergeist, it feels like an Amblin horror film.
Interesting.
Like a Spielberg-produced horror film. It's awesome. Watch it. It's great. Hopefully we can talk about it on the podcast someday. Yeah, I've just been watching a bunch of Christmas movies. Elf, Christmas Carol, the not very good one.
Which one?
The Robert Zemeckis one.
The Zemeckis one, yeah.
Yeah, not very good. But, yeah, that's basically what I've been watching. What about you, Kolby?
The last thing that I watched that I was really excited about was the new film that just came out on Amazon, Sound of Metal.
Oh, I've heard of it.
Have you watched it?
No.
Highly.
I've heard of it and I've been meaning to see it.
Highly recommend. I hope we get a chance to talk about it more in depth on the podcast. It's one of my favorite movies of 2020, but definitely. I'd put it up there with Mank and Trial of Chicago 7 and One Night in Miami.
Nice.
The premise of it is so fascinating. It's about a heavy metal drummer who begins to lose his hearing and how his life spirals out of control because obviously his hearing and his music is everything to him. And I would say overall, it's about a guy having to learn the virtue of silence and the kind of therapeutic, the healing property of just of peace and silence. It's really fascinating. Highly recommend it. It's on Amazon Prime now. Go watch it.
Oh, I will watch it soon.
So,
that sounds awesome.
That's it for today, friends and folks. Next episode, we are going to be discussing Mank as well as the original,
Mank.
The original, Citizen Kane.
The original Mank. Ooh, the worst film ever made.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sucks. Orson Welles, more like Orson Smells.
We did this last episode.
Right. I know. Orson Welles, you suck. I know. I'm tired.
Anyways, thank you guys for listening. Tune in next episode to hear our thoughts on a very new film and a very classic film.
Very old movie. Yes. Very much looking forward to next episode. If you don't want to be spoiled, do watch it. Mank is on Netflix, and Citizen Kane is on...
It's on HBO Max.
Buy it or watch it on HBO Max. It definitely... Mank benefits from a viewing of Citizen Kane, so if you plan on doing that, I definitely recommend it.
Word of warning, don't watch Mank without having seen Citizen Kane first, because you probably won't get it. It's... The movie... I don't say that to be like pretentious or anything. Like literally, the movie is written for people who have seen Citizen Kane.
Yeah, but we'll discuss that next time.
Goodbye.
Next time on a very special amateur cast. Clone High, great show.
I love Clone High so much.
So good. We should review that.
We should do a whole episode on Clone High. Let's do an episode where we just review each episode of Clone High.
I'm so down. Each episode is just 3-hour in-depth conversation. Love it. Okay, but yeah, boys and girls, not trying to be sexist here. Girls can like movies too. And moms and dads and grandpas and grandmas and cats and dogs.
And everything in between.
Yes. I'm tired. I'm going to bed.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for listening.
See you
next episode.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.